Welcome to the Soapbox. I'm Russell Conte. Today I'd like to demonstrate how to sew a sleeve placket. So first things first, we're going to need our sleeve. I'm going to cut my placket open at 5.5 inches in length, and that'll give me a finished placket of roughly 5 inches. My seam allowance is at the bottom when it attaches to the cup is 1/2 inch as well in my case. You're also going to need the sleeve placket cover and a sleeve placket binding. This I cut at 3 inches by 8 inches in length. I notch it at the same place, so that's going to be notched on this side and this side at 5.5 inches. And this my sleeve placket binding, I cut it 1.5 inches wide by 6.5 inches in length, and then I make my notch also at 5.5 inches on the inside edge. I like to do a 2-piece placket because that allows me to sew these in different colors, so I can use this as the self if I like, and then I can do a contrast for the binding or something that makes it more unusual and unique. I'm going to go ahead and cut my pieces. Okay. And you can see that I have placed my notches to indicate where they end at the end of the placket here. And you're going to place these face down on the wrong side of the fabric. Okay, so the face is going to be down. So if this were the right side of the fabric, face toward the wrong side of the sleeve. And the same thing for the placket cover. My seam allowances in this case are 1/4 inch. And I'm simply going to sew along this edge. I'm going to go 1/4 inch beyond the notch. I'm going to pivot and turn and then come back down this side 1/4 inch. Once we've sewn it, the next step is to clip right to that stitching. I'm going to start from the notch and I'm going to clip up into the diagonal. And I'm going to clip right to the stitching but not through it. I'm going to do the same thing over here. If you've done a welt pocket before, it's exactly the same technique. Clip right to the stitches but not beyond them. It's important to clip right to the stitches because if you don't, then it tends to buckle at that point. Once we've clipped to our diagonals, we're ready to start folding this in place. Now again, as we're looking at this, we're looking at the wrong side of the placket cover and the placket binding. We're also looking at the wrong side of the shirt sleeve. So the face side of the placket, binding and placket are face down as well as the face of the sleeve. Again, you're looking at the wrong side here. What we want to do is work on the placket binding first. I'm going to take this, I'm going to press it toward the opening first. And you can, if you like, just to finger crease that in place first. And then we're going to take that to the front edge. So we're just going to wrap it right through the opening. Bring it right through. And by virtue of clipping that notch so cleanly at the corner, we'll get a really clean finish right there. Once we've done that, we'll keep this pressed toward the binding. We're going to press the raw edge of the binding 1/4 inch as well, and then we're going to overlap to clean finish that edge right there. What we're going to do is go ahead and press that into place, and then we're going to edge stitch all the way to the top, just on the binding portion. I'm going to leave the placket cover in place for the time being. Here's my sleeve placket pressed into place. Let me reverse engineer this for you so you can see what I've done. What I've done is I've pressed the seam allowance over here at 1/4 inch to the inside edge. I've taken up to the notch, I've pressed toward the opening, and at the top I just leave that alone for the time being. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to take this to the face side now. We'll just bring it through the opening. And up here, we're going to leave that pressed toward the placket opening right there. Okay? So don't try to press it back on itself. Just leave it like that. It'll kind of run into place. So if you see here, here's how it looks on the front. I've pressed right here. This gets pressed underneath to hold that in place. Here's the 1/4 inch that I pressed over, and then we wrap over the top, right like that. Once I have this all pressed into place, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one edge or the other, doesn't matter which. I can either fold in this direction, okay, and I want to make certain it's on a 45-degree angle, so I just fold it right down so it matches this side here, and then I take the other raw edge and bring it down. And that's how I get that little point at the top. We want to make certain those are accurate on both sides, and once we have those accurate, we're going to go ahead and press in place, and then we're ready for sewing. So once again, at the top, you're just going to take this edge and fold it down first, or this edge and fold it down first. Again, it doesn't matter which. If you have a little excess running out the edge here, we'll trim that off later on. And again, this height is a matter of personal preference beyond the top of the clip. It's simply a matter of style and design. We finger press that into place, and we turn this back under and bring that corner over here. And all that stuff will get captured underneath and hidden, and then we'll sew this. Once we've pressed in place, we're ready for sewing. What we want to check is we want to sew pretty much where the top of the placket opening is. Okay? That's about 1 inch to 1.25 inches from this edge, depending on how you folded it. So once I press it, I'm going to start here on the placket side, okay, not on the piping side. I'm going to back up to the edge, then I'm going to come across, I'm going to pivot, go up, edge stitch, pivot again, pivot, pivot, and finally come down this leading edge over here. Okay. When you do this edge over here, be a little bit cautious because your lower piping for the placket can actually get over there and sometimes you'll sew through it. So hold it out of the way ever so slightly. Not too much, you don't want to distort it, but enough to keep it out of the way so you don't sew it. And that's all there is to it. Then you're ready for putting your pleats in. If you have any questions about this project or any of my other projects, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm happy to help in any way I can. In the meantime, have a great day sewing.